It's been 24 years since the 9/11 attacks, 24 years since the world changed forever. We all know where we were when we first found out about those horrendous attacks in New York City. It brought in the Patriot Act to take away the freedoms of Americans. It gave the excuse, the new Pearl Harbor, to introduce the project for the new American century that had been planned 12 months earlier. It led to a massive destabilization within the Middle East, something we're still feeling today. Now, conspiracy theories, so we're told, have arisen around 9/11 pretty much from the beginning in 2001. Now, in no small part down to the fact that the people were told that a paper passport had floated down in the debris and was found 2 streets away. That paper passport, we're told, belonged to one of the hijackers. Now, if you're going to tell the people ridiculously unbelievable things, they're going to ridiculously not believe you. Now, 24 years later, it staggers me that still people focus on the World Trade Center as being 2 towers. In fact, there was another one. Another very important one called Building 7.
Now, more on the latest building collapse in New York. You might have heard a few moments ago I was talking about the Salomon Brothers building collapsing. And indeed it has. Apparently that's only a few hundred yards away from where the World Trade Center towers were. And it seems that this was not a result of a new attack. It was because the building had been weakened during this morning's attacks. We'll probably find out more now about that from our correspondent, Jane Stanley. Jane, what more can you tell us about the Salomon Brothers building and its collapse?
Well, only really what you already know. Details are very, very sketchy.
Oh, they're pretty sketchy. They're pretty sketchy. Now, mistakes can be made. So maybe Building 6 had collapsed and she'd said Building 7 accidentally. It's an easy mistake to make. There's loads of stuff going on. It's quite chaotic. I imagine that there's lots of information coming in from different news sources and stuff. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt. Okay. That would be more believable if Building 7 didn't then collapse shortly afterwards.
As you can see behind me, the Trade Center appears to be still burning. We see these huge clouds of smoke and ash, and we know that behind that there's an empty piece of what was a very familiar New York skyline, a symbol of the financial prosperity of this city.
It was a massive symbol. That's why New York was hit. It was hugely significant in terms of garnering a reaction from the rest of the world. We've seen how different cities have been hit by earthquakes and terrorist attacks over the years, and that hasn't really got the same reaction. But everyone can associate New York City. New York City, Friends. You've seen all the films with all those skylines that included the Twin Towers. It's going to evoke a massive reaction from the public all over the world, and indeed it did. Now, when it comes to the Twin Towers, we know that Larry Silverstein, or Lucky Larry Silverstein, owned the Twin Towers. He took over the Twin Towers just a few months before 9/11, and the first thing he did was take out terrorism insurance. I'm not saying anything.
Pelted by debris when the North Tower collapsed, 7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Pull it. We made the decision to pull it. Not pull out. If he'd have said we made the decision to pull out, as in get the firefighters out of there, okay, that would make sense. But pull it. Now, bearing in mind, this is a tower, like I said, that wasn't hit by an aeroplane or anything like that. It's supposedly crumbling to the ground in free fall as a result of office fires. I'm not convinced, Larry, at all. But now I'm thinking, actually, if they had made the decision to pull it, if they had explosives in that tower already, obviously that would suggest this was pre-planned. But the other thing you think is, well, you'd want to get rid of the evidence of that.
Located north of the slurry wall, 7 had been cleared faster than the rest of the site.
Ah, They got rid of the evidence pretty quick then. I mean, that makes sense. I'd have done the same if I was in their boat. So Larry Silverstein, as I mentioned earlier, he took out terrorism insurance just before the 9/11 attacks. But how did he purchase the World Trade Center?
From the governor's office. And they said, would you ever consider owning the World Trade Center? It was very, very good for the family, very good for us, and we were very, very fortunate. On the morning of 9/11,
getting into character. We're emotional. Larry's emotional. It's upsetting. He can't even think about it. And the Oscar goes to...
ready, getting dressed to go to the dermatologist. I have light-colored hair, light skin. The sun is a disaster for me. I can't take the sun.
But Larry Silverstein, you're indigenous to the Middle East, mate. So you should be fine, right?
She said, okay, but you're going to the dermatologist, you're going this morning, and you're not going downtown. We got very, very lucky. And I had an obligation to collect the insurance proceeds from the policies.
He had an obligation to collect the insurance. Now, he didn't just collect the insurance that he'd just taken out prior, he doubled it. He doubled his money because he argued and won that there'd been two separate terrorist attacks. So he got paid out for one, and then he gets paid out for the other. He doesn't mention Building 7.
A new governor was just elected. Elliot Spitzer, an old friend who I knew well.
An old friend he knows well. There's a big club, folks, and we ain't in it.
I said, Elliot, if you don't help me, I'll never collect from the insurance companies. And guess what? He listened, and he said, you know what? You're entitled.
Oh, Larry, you are entitled, all right, son.
I'm going to get you the money. And in 6 months, he got me the $4.5 billion. We got very, very lucky.
Imagine being that level of psychopath, that even if you had nothing to do with what went on and you just took out that terrorism insurance just on the off chance, you had no foreknowledge, and then you just happened to not be there where you normally are in the World Trade Center on that morning because the dermatology appointment, even let's pretend that's legit, right? Imagine being that much of a psychopath to stand there in front of a group of people and talk about an event that killed thousands and talk about how it was lucky. We were lucky because we made a bunch of money, $4.5 billion out of it. Thousands of people died that day, and then it was used as an excuse to go and kill millions more in the Middle East. And you can stand there and say how lucky you were as a result of it because you made all that money. That is cray-cray psycho behavior, Larry. And here we are 24 years later, and no one's talking about Building 7. No one in the mainstream media is talking about Building 7. And what's extraordinary when we look at what's happening in our communities and all our different countries right now, where you've got this division being built between the Muslims and the non-Muslims. It's kind of there. There's always an undercurrent of it at the minute. And you've got a large group of people, many of them watching this, I am sure, that are well aware that it wasn't Arab hijackers and that Muslims were not behind 9/11. Yet still, they frickin' hate Muslims for 9/11. Make it make sense.